Welcome to Impact Signals, social impact at the scale of AI. I'm Charlie.
And I'm Sarah.
It's Thursday, March 19th, 2026. This is episode 34, and today we're going deep on the real-time state of the field. A new AI agent meeting refugees where they are on WhatsApp. A nation rebuilding its entire disaster forecasting system from the ground up. And a sector-wide survey telling us the governance gap is getting wider, not smaller. Let's start with something that launched 2 days ago. The International Rescue Committee just deployed a new AI tool called ALMA, AI for Life Mapping Assistance, for refugees and newcomers navigating integration in the United States.
What makes ALMA stand out is where it lives. It's on WhatsApp, not a separate app, not a web portal, the app that refugees already have on their phones. It runs 24/7, it speaks Dari and Farsi, English, Spanish, and Swahili, the 4 languages most commonly spoken by the populations currently going through U.S. resettlement.
And it's scoped very specifically. This isn't a general chatbot. ALMA is designed to navigate you to concrete resources. Housing counseling, public benefits, financial literacy, employment prep. It actively refers you to trusted local organizations rather than trying to be the answer itself.
That architectural decision matters. The IRC explicitly designed it to avoid the 2 failure modes you see in AI tools for vulnerable populations. Either it becomes a liability because it gives quasi-legal advice and gets it wrong, or it optimizes for engagement and keeps people on platform when they need to be talking to a human caseworker. ALMA does neither. It's a navigational layer, not a destination.
For practitioners running resettlement programs, this is a deployable model right now. The lesson isn't just the technology, it's the design philosophy. Narrow scope, WhatsApp native, clear human referral pathways. That combination addresses the biggest adoption barriers at once.
And the timing matters. When formal resettlement systems face administrative pressure or funding disruptions, which is exactly the environment right now, a tool like ALMA becomes a resilience layer. The information access doesn't disappear just because bureaucracy slows down.
Next, Vietnam announced a complete overhaul of its national disaster forecasting infrastructure this week. Deputy Minister of Agriculture and Environment, Lê Công Thang, led a landmark workshop in Hanoi, and the numbers they shared are significant.
Vietnam has real skin in this game. Between 2021 and 2025, extreme weather cost the country over 1,500 lives and losses in the hundreds of trillions of Vietnamese dong. They explicitly called AI a breakthrough requirement, not a nice-to-have.
The new system is a national big data architecture integrated with smart sensors and remote sensing. What they've already achieved, storm intensity forecasting is 10 to 20% more accurate in the short term, and satellite-based storm identification, location and intensity is now above 90% accuracy.
The 30-minute lead time for thunderstorms and tornadoes deserves attention. For most of the world, that's still a stretch goal. Vietnam is operationalizing it via radar and lightning detection networks combined with automated station data. The whole system is designed to function even where human observation capacity is limited, which is the actual challenge in most typhoon corridors.
Vietnam is the first ASEAN nation to announce a full national AI meteorological overhaul at this scale. That makes it a reference architecture for neighbors, the Philippines, Indonesia, Myanmar, who face the same typhoon risk and the same infrastructure gaps.
Disaster risk reduction teams in those countries should be watching Vietnam's implementation closely. If the 90% satellite accuracy benchmark holds in operational conditions, it becomes a specification to demand from vendors.
Now to a platform expansion with real scope. Google Flood Hub, different from the flash flood alert tool we covered last week, announced an expansion to 80 countries, covering approximately 460 million people, with up to 7 days advance warning for riverine floods.
7 days is the operational number to hold on to. Most emergency prepositioning, stockpiling supplies, evacuating vulnerable populations, prepositioning medical teams, requires 48 to 72 hours minimum. A 7-day lead time doubles that window. In places that previously had hours, that's the difference between a managed response and a rescue operation.
The system processes millions of data points in centralized computing infrastructure. The model is explicitly designed to work where local monitoring infrastructure doesn't exist. No hardware installations required at the country level. Future versions will incorporate glacial melt rates and deforestation data, which is meaningful for slow onset disaster monitoring.
For practitioners, this changes the early warning calculus in sub-Saharan Africa, South Asia, and parts of Southeast Asia significantly. If your organization is doing pre-disaster preparedness work in riverine flood zones, FloodHub is now a tool you can integrate into activation protocols in 80 countries. That's a policy and procurement question, not a technology question.
From one data point to a data set. Today, the Humanitarian Leadership Academy and Data Friendly Space released the first follow-up to last year's landmark Humanitarian AI study. 1,729 practitioners, 100-plus countries, and the headline finding is not encouraging.
They called it the Humanitarian AI Paradox in 2025, and the 2026 Pulse survey confirms its deepening. Individual conviction in AI's benefits has surged. Practitioners believe in this technology, but organizational readiness has stayed essentially flat. Governance, institutional integration, expertise building, the structural layer isn't keeping pace with individual adoption.
Which means more and more practitioners are using commercial AI tools on their own, often with sensitive beneficiary data, without organizational oversight or data governance frameworks behind them.
And there's a new layer of concern in this year's findings: agentic AI. Autonomous AI agents are starting to enter the humanitarian sector, and the sector has even less governance infrastructure for agentic systems than it did for basic generative AI in 2025. The gap between deployment and governance is actively widening.
What does this mean operationally? The survey identifies 4 urgent action areas: AI literacy and skilling, governance frameworks, organizational integration, and regional equity. For org leaders, you now have 2 years of data telling you your practitioners are using AI without guardrails. That's organizational risk. Program directors, procurement officers, this is the moment to start the governance conversation before an incident forces it.
The regional equity finding is the one I keep coming back to. Access to AI tools and training is not evenly distributed across the sector. Organizations in the global north are adapting faster than field-level operations in the countries where crises actually happen. That asymmetry will produce its own failure modes.
Shifting to the recovery phase, something the sector needs more of. Blackbaud, the software platform for nonprofits, launched what it's calling the first agent for good embedded in a social impact platform. It's called the Development Agent, and it launched this week in Razor's Edge and XT.
The problem it's solving is a real one. Most nonprofit development teams have enough capacity to deeply cultivate their top-tier major donors. They don't have the bandwidth to personalize engagement with the mid-tier, donors who gave a few $100 or a few $1,000 and could give more with the right relationship. That's the pool this agent manages autonomously.
It handles prospect identification, outreach cadence planning, drafting personalized communications, and following up on responses, all under human supervision. Fort Collins Habitat for Humanity and the University of New Haven are among the early adopters, and both report faster donor connections and improved mid-level giving conversion.
The architecture matters for procurement teams considering this. It's native to Blackbaud's ecosystem, not a bolt-on third-party app. That means it operates on decades of existing donor data with real-time access, no periodic data syncing, and reduced exposure to the security vulnerabilities that come from third-party integrations. Donor data is among the most sensitive data a nonprofit manages.
For disaster relief organizations specifically, housing recovery nonprofits, emergency relief charities, this is relevant as a recovery phase tool. After a major response surge, organizations often face a donor engagement cliff. An agentic system that sustains mid-tier donor relationships through that trough period is a direct recovery phase capability.
The question practitioners should ask before adopting, what's the human override protocol? Any agentic AI managing donor communications needs clearly defined boundaries around what it can send without approval. The tech is ready. The governance question is the one to resolve first.
Finally, Kenya passed the Artificial Intelligence Bill 2026, and it has direct implications for humanitarian data operations.
2 things are happening simultaneously. The bill establishes the Office of the AI Commissioner and mandates 5-year audit trails for data labeling in high-risk sectors, with humanitarian aid explicitly listed. It also criminalizes unapproved deployment of high-risk AI and generation of harmful synthetic media.
And alongside the legislation, Kenya, Italy, and India formalized a sovereign AI alliance specifically focused on building AI architectures grounded in local realities. Multilingual voice AI for regional African languages, modular compute infrastructure powered by Kenya's geothermal grid. The explicit goal is to avoid importing Western hyperscale models and instead build systems designed for the specific socioeconomic contexts where they'll be deployed.
For practitioners, the compliance angle is the immediate priority. Any humanitarian organization using Kenyan data labeling services, or planning to, now faces a 5-year documentation requirement. That's not optional, and based on how governance frameworks spread across the continent, similar requirements in Nigeria, South Africa, and Rwanda are likely within 2 years. Start your documentation and provenance reviews now.
The sovereign AI framing is worth noting too. Kenya positioning itself as a global AI compliance hub with legally mandated ethical data provenance is a long-term structural shift in how the Global South relates to AI development. Organizations building AI tools for deployment in East Africa will need to engage with that framework, not around it. Before we wrap, 2 events are ending today. NVIDIA GTC 2026 runs through Friday in San Jose, with an AI for Good track running humanitarian deployment sessions. Disasters Expo USA 2026 in Anaheim also closes today. If you're tracking emergency management tech, check the wrap-up coverage.
Coming up, the Double AI Spring Symposium on AI and Humanitarian Assistance and Disaster Response at Stanford, March 24th through 26th. That's the Academic Practitioner Bridge Conference, worth following if you're tracking research to field translation. And RightsCon in Nairobi, March 28th through 30, will have significant humanitarian AI governance sessions.
That's Impact Signals for Thursday, March 19th, 2026. If this briefing is useful, subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. Check us out at impactsignals.ai and share it with someone working in the field.
Stay ready.